everybody. This is Wendy Ponomarenko. I'm the art teacher and librarian at Temple Emanu-El. As part of the ongoing library project in which we try to bring the library resources to our families while the public libraries and our library are not accessible, I've been reading a book a night. And tonight is The Two Brothers, which is a legend of Jerusalem. Now, we actually have multiple versions of this same story in our library. Both of them can be found in the easy fiction area of the Jevenile stacks. Okay, so this is The Brothers Promise by Francis Harbour. This one's not the one we're going to be reading tonight, but I definitely encourage people to check this one out if you get a chance to. The one we're going to do tonight, though, is The Two Brothers, A Legend of Jerusalem, retold and illustrated by Neil Waldman. Neil Waldman is a pretty prolific illustrator and writer in the Jewish community. You'll find actually we have quite a few books in the children's section by him. Okay. Long ago, a farmer with two sons lived atop a hill where they grew wheat for many years. When he died, the farmer left the eastern side of the hill to his elder son and the western side of the hill to his younger son. After several years, the younger son married and had two children, but the elder son remained alone. One season, when the harvest began, the brothers cut the wheat and gathered it into sheaves so that it could be brought to the market and sold. They worked very hard and they were exhausted by evening. But one night, the elder brother couldn't sleep. As he lay there awake, he thought, "My dear brother has a wife and children to feed, and I have only myself. Surely his need is much greater than mine." And so he walked out onto his field and carried sheaves of wheat from his side of the hill and placed them in a field on his brother's side. And then he smiled and returned to bed. A bit later, his younger brother awoke from a dream. "I have such a rich life," he said to himself. "I have a wonderful wife and two fine kids, but my dear brother lives alone. Surely his need is much greater than mine." And so he walked out onto his side of the field and carried sheaves of wheat to his brother's side. Unknown to either brother, the wise king of the land, whose name was Solomon, was walking in the hills that very night, and he witnessed all that took place. After the brothers had returned to their homes, Solomon lay down under a nearby olive tree and fell asleep. The sun awoke him the next morning, and he watched as the brothers returned to the hill. Solomon looked on with amusement as both brothers stared at the sheaves, for the number on each side of the hill was still exactly the same. They both worked through the day with questions filling their heads, but they said nothing to each other. Later that night, the brothers returned to the hill, first one, then the other. As before, each carried sheaves to his brother's side and returned to sleep. The next morning, they were again amazed by what they saw, for there were still equal numbers of sheaves on both sides of the hill. Again they pretended not to notice. Again they worked all day in silence, and again King Solomon looked on and smiled to himself. On the third night, the brothers happened to awaken at the same time. Each left his home and headed across the hill with an armful of wheat. In the darkness of night, they bumped into each other and tumbled to the ground. "What are you doing here?" each asked the other at exactly the same moment. Then they both began to laugh. The elder brother helped his younger brother up, and they hugged warmly. They kissed each other's cheeks and continued laughing. As King Solomon watched in wonder from behind his olive tree, the clouds parted and a shaft of golden light illuminated the ground beneath the brothers' feet. Water bubbled up from the spot to form a small pool. Soon, a beautiful spring sparkled in the moonlight. King Solomon looked up to find the source of the light, and he gasped in amazement. There in the clouds he saw a great walled city, and at the center of this beautiful city was a magnificent temple. Solomon turned to the brothers. "Your kindness and love for each other has caused a miracle to happen," he declared, "and I shall build my temple on this very spot." And so he did. Bringing thousands of workers from the far corners of his kingdom, Solomon carried out his great plan. With the finest wood from cypress and olive trees, and from the giant cedars of Lebanon, and with great blocks of granite, and with cubes of pure gold, they built Solomon's temple. And around it they built a beautiful city, surrounded by a great wall to protect it. It was Jerusalem, Solomon's Jerusalem, and people from all over the world came to witness its splendor. And they still do. The end. Now, this particular Jewish story has been around for a long time, but it didn't actually start as a Jewish story. This is one of those bits of folklore that has come from different peoples as they interact from each other. And as stories get told to different groups adopt those stories and retell them themselves. This story originally, at least the farthest back recordings we can find of it, this story is originally from India. And then it was picked up by the Arabic world, and then it was picked up by the Jewish world. However, the Arabic world and the Jewish world got it pretty close to each other. But the much older versions of this are from India. So this is one of those cool cultural anthropology kind of stories, and you can see how different cultures have told the same story, or at least their own version of the story, and they have the inspirations of these wonderful stories as they go from group to group. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. This is a bit of a wonderful legend that we have different versions of in our library, and it has a wonderful past to it too. So I hope you enjoy and you get a chance to check it out sometime in the future. Thank you.